So, welcome back, everybody. We are back for another catch-up episode series. I've been working my way through from episode 1 onwards. We are on episode 5. We're returning to that one. And on today's show, we have Mike Govoni, who was on the awareness space, and it was entitled My Healing Beyond Recovery. It was very enticing, and it's in the top 10 most downloaded episodes so far, which is very special. Originally, we talked about his trauma as a child and a teenager, his addiction, his recovery, and his work with trauma and recovery as a coach today. We dived into the mind-body connection and the Buddhist path. So go back, listen to it, link in the description, go and check it out. But welcome back, Mike. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Owen. Thanks for having me back, and I'm really excited to hear that the episode was, made top 10. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's really good. There's 10 of them. They're all battling it out. So 1 week, one takes top spot, and it's been really interesting to see. But I think what we talked about was so powerful, and I'm hoping this will be a way to get people to go back. But since we last spoke, which was December, it was around the late part of December 2020, and business was going well for you then, but you certainly were not married then. So I see that a lot has changed in 6 months.
Yes, indeed. I got married out here in Sedona, Arizona, and I got my beautiful bride here, and we're enjoying life. We're kind of settling in and enjoying just some small moments after the wedding a few weeks back, and really just enjoying each other's company. So a lot has changed, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter of our lives.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations. How's business looking at the moment? All going well?
Yeah, business is really, really well. I think people are getting, word just from referrals. I mean, I have, a pretty active social media channel and so forth, but primarily my business comes through referrals, which, showing others the work is working, and they tell their friends and their family. And that's kind of how it happens for me right now, at least. But yeah, things are well.
That's brilliant. And just quickly for the audience who may have heard you for the first time, how does your business look? Is it one-to-one? Is it group stuff? How does that look for you?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Owen. And pretty much right now, I'm offering a one-on-one coaching service. So it's pretty much a 3-month commitment, 12 weeks to start. And we do a deep dive one-on-one, and I support the person to take a holistic, integrative approach to their life in recovery, with an emphasis on the resolution of trauma and stabilizing the nervous system so people can find safety and comfort in their own skin.
Beautiful. The word safety will always do well on the Awareness Space podcast. That's what it's all about. And working with the nervous system and obviously the trauma work side of it is really, really powerful. So again, guys, go and check out the original episode. But just give people a flavor of that. This is a short form podcast, but let's talk a little bit about the healing beyond recovery. So obviously you have your trauma background, everything you've been through. People can find out in the other episode. But for you, what does the healing beyond, what does that mean? How does that look for you personally, do you think?
Yeah, I think the healing beyond recovery is getting in touch with the essence of who we are beyond the story, beyond the false beliefs, ideas, into settling into kind of what we spoke about in the last episode of that awareness that's here, right? That loving presence, and really supporting the person's nervous system to find and access the present moment so they can get out of their proliferation of thinking, where they can settle down the mind, where they can begin to hold their experience in awareness, right? Without judging it, without having to grab onto this or grab onto that, but really just settling in. And my take is that if you're battling substance abuse, or you're in recovery from substance abuse, then you're also in recovery or battling some sort of trauma and pain. I mean, why else would we reach outside of ourselves for pills, potions, powders, and try to escape the moment? And that's because we don't feel safe in our own skin. The voices in our head, the committee is there, and really helping the person to understand what trauma is, how it affects them, and how to resolve that through creating a safe container, through exploring the different parts of who they are, and really begin to access what we would call maybe internal family systems work, the self, or in Buddhism, it's the bodhicitta energy, the energy of self-compassion, the energy of presence. And I think if there's ever a time in this world right now where we need to simplify things and find our relaxation response, it's definitely right now. So that's kind of the premise of my work. I also bring in the aspects of working on the body. So we're taking an approach to mind body, the biology, linking how the story that they lived affects in their body, and also really helping them and support them to make better lifestyle choices, food choices, supplement choices, work on their adrenals. A lot of people's adrenal glands are pretty taxed, pretty stressed. So really, taking that holistic integrative approach that I was talking about and addressing the whole person.
So powerful. Thank you for sharing all that. And, something that we probably, I'm not sure we mentioned it in the original episode, but, I'm 70 episodes on and I've learned a lot in the process. But what I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind quickly, which is interesting, that, once we come through this healing journey and whatever that modality is, if it's parts work or EMDR or somatic work or the Buddhist approach, mindfulness, we can kind of sort of release a lot of things and give ourselves a sort of reset. The problem is, if you've never experienced the world or experienced life from a place of regulation, perhaps, we then need to know what that feels like and what that looks like. For example, if you struggle to be intimate with people because of your trauma, you sort of hear yourself and then you're ready to become intimate. If you've never experienced that before, it's hard to know how to start to retrain your brain and your body and create these new neural pathways. So for you, how do you feel about that aspect of having to kind of unwire a lot of the stuff that's happened to us, but also begin to rewire new ways of seeing the world so we can feel comfortable and thrive?
Yeah, and as Dr. Stephen Porges says, the founder of polyvagal theory, he says that, safety is the medicine. And that's really what we need in order to heal, is finding a safe therapeutic relationship, or even, let's say, a safe relationship to explore with our partner what it feels like to lean in rather than lean out, right? I'll speak from experience. I've been together with my fiance for 8 years. I have a pretty deep trauma background. And in our 8 years of being together, she began to understand that I was more leaning out than leaning in, let's just say. So she brought it to my attention. She said, can you lean in for the kiss? Can you stay? Can you hang in this intimate moment, even though it may be difficult? But how do we begin to stretch our nervous systems? Well, we have to do practices. We have to engage in things that challenge it, but not throw it out of the window of tolerance. So I had to practice leaning in for the kiss, leaning in towards the intimacy with my fiance. And it's still something I practice with because of my background, because of my wounding. As I shared earlier in the first episode, being split from my mother at 3 years old, I had a lot of stuff there to work out, especially with women. So I think it's a process where we need self-compassion and really need to be present with ourselves and not judge ourselves, but understand that our body is an amazing organism and it's doing things to keep us safe, even below our awareness, including some of our body reactions. They're from in the implicit part of the memory. It's not conscious. So be patient with yourself, find a skilled practitioner that can support you, that you feel safe with, and begin to try leaning in. And over as we begin to lean in, it becomes second nature. Our nervous system says, okay, I can do this.
Thank you so much. And all those little references to polyvagal always makes me happy. And it's interesting that you say that, isn't it? Because you kind of, sometimes the best way to heal when you're having problems in relationships with anybody is to heal through relationship. You're having to learn how to do that. And you can also use it as a healing tool too, with the support of the therapist on the side. There's no reason for us to shut out the whole world while we heal. Say, right, you all go over there. I'll sort out my regulation. I'll come back, because we need to learn co-regulation to help us with the self-regulation. And it goes to and fro, back and forth. And I think being trauma informed with our partners, I saw someone on Instagram the other day saying that one of the key love languages is understanding your partner's trauma over any of the other languages. That's probably the key one that you can work with. And I think that's really powerful. So you're spot on. It's kind of learning to experience these things within the window of tolerance, but kind of stepping out, ebbing and flowing. So is that a big part of when you're working with people? You say you work with people for a 12-week period. Everybody's different, but it's not as simple as it is just having 1 or 2 sessions. Right, cool, I've reset, I'm good to go. It's about integration, and that takes time, doesn't it?
It does indeed. And, everyone's trauma is not the same. Some people are at a different, let's just say, a different spectrum. I mean, you have someone that comes back from a war and has been in war for the last 9 months, 12 months, and that can be very, very traumatic. They're, having a startle response. They're being triggered by, the sounds of a backfire of a car or loud noises or fireworks, whatever the case may be. And then you have some other traumas that are very complex and subtle and things that are really unconscious. But, helping the person to bring those things up into consciousness little at a time and not overwhelm the nervous system, because healing trauma is like surgery. It's very intricate, fine work, and you can't go too much too fast too soon, because the nervous system once again could be re-traumatized. So it's taking it slow and really just respecting where you're at. And yes, integration is part of it, especially if you do a journey that, for example, psychedelic assisted psychotherapy is coming up now. We're going to see the day where MDMA is probably legal, or psilocybin, and those, medicines are extremely powerful in healing trauma. And yet it's not necessarily the experience. It's part of the experience, but also the integration of what they took from that experience. How can they integrate that into your day-to-day life? Or, for example, if you've had a spiritual awakening as a result of trauma, because we know trauma is one of the major doorways to spiritual awakening. That's my story. That's part of my journey. And integrating that experience was tremendously difficult, and I had to find someone that could understand me, someone that, when I told the story, they shook their head and I said, "What do you mean, this happened to you too?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, of course." And I was like, wow. So really, yes, integrating, taking time, and allowing someone who's maybe been on the journey to support you. I think that's one of the most important things where we're going now. Is the credentials aren't even as important as the lived experience of the practitioner we're working with. As Carl Jung says, you either have to have gone through or going through the process in order to initiate the healing to the patient. Only the wounded heal. So, finding those people and taking it slow but integrating is really important.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you so much about the lived experience. That came up in my last episode, actually, long form show. We talked a lot about that lived experience and how powerful that can be. And it's kind of this sense of, once you get the messages, so, triggers, glimmers, all of these things teach us something. What happens in psychedelic experience, it can be a lesson to learn. It's a piece of wisdom coming from our own innate core, telling us what we need to know and what we need to do. It's what we do with that information can be tricky. And I think the work that you're doing out in the world is a prime example of how that can help people know where to channel what they've just discovered, because it can be a little bit scary at times. So for you, my friend, like, how does that on a daily basis, how does it look? How do you remain steady and in flow in your life? I ask everybody this. So remaining steady and in flow, how do you keep your nervous system kind of in tip-top condition, should we say?
Yeah, I think self-practice, self-care, and having a self-practice rather is the most important thing you could probably do for yourself, especially in a world right now where there's a pandemic going on, or whatever is happening here. The world is under stress, and the collective is under stress, and we get sucked into that no matter how much self-care we have. And to stay on top of your own self-care is important. So what I do personally, and this isn't everyone's journey, it's just I'm sharing what I do personally, is I wake up, I grab a nice glass of water, room temperature, with some lemon, and I drink that, and I go out and I get some sun on my eyes for about 10-15 minutes. Sometimes I might read a little bit, and then I'll sit down and I'll do my meditation practice. I sit for about 25 minutes every day in silence, following my breath, steadying my mind. And once again, this isn't for everyone. Everyone isn't ready to just jump and sit on a cushion, and I respect that. There are other things you can do besides just sitting on a cushion, but some sort of awareness practice is crucial to this journey of healing and awakening. Then I'll go exercise. Sometimes it's just a walk around the block. Sometimes it's at the gym. Sometimes it's on my cycle bike. Whatever it is, I get a little exercise. I come back, I shower, I take my supplements, and then usually I'm in my office seeing my first client. So that's what I do day in and day out, day in and day out. I rarely miss a beat. and that's what's kept me going, right? I think every good practitioner needs someone else to learn from. So I have a coach, I have a therapist, I have someone that's always teaching me. And I think that's very important as you begin to work with people, that the person you're doing work with is doing their work. I mean, this is kind of how it really, really works. But yeah, that's what I do day to day.
That's amazing. And like you said, just the point, I think, of what you've described there is having this practice that kind of fits into your day, something that you know that you'll do. There's no point setting up a big list of things that you're going to do that you're just not going to squeeze in and find time for. It's whatever is giving you time to reflect and to be in the quiet space, to go within and follow breath, or go for a walk in the woods. Like you do that every day, and you notice, what do you notice sense wise? It's just finding something that can be a constant in your life, which is more about you than anything else. It's not about anybody else or trying to achieve anything. It's just about being rather than doing, right? I think that's the key thing that's come from all of this. So what does your future look like, my friend? What you got in the pipeline? Is it much of the same? Do you have anything big coming up?
There's a lot of balls in the air right now. We're figuring out if we want to live here in Sedona, or where do we want to live? Do we purchase a home here? What do we do? So with my wife, we're kind of figuring that out. We're probably going to try for a child within the next 6 months to a year. So that's going to be a big life-changing situation, I'm sure. And yeah, really just living my best life amidst the chaos here, and really just trying to, first of all, be the change within myself that I want to see in the world, and really just kind of coming back to basics and staying fresh, staying present. And yes, when I get pulled away, the world kind of grabs me in the worldly things, and that's okay. And I try to balance both worlds, right? The spiritual, the material, and really enjoy this thing called life, right? Sometimes I just hang out and watch the hummingbirds, and other times I'm go trying to make things happen, and really just kind of holding all of it. Playing some good golf out here in Arizona, and yeah, I feel like I'm living my best life here right now, Owen.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. It's very inspiring, and shows that no matter what's happened to us, like your story, we can come out the other side and live our best life, like you said. And I was going to ask you for your message of hope, but you kind of nailed it in that question, which is great. Beautiful, man. So how can we find out more about you? How can the audience check you out? Where can they go?
Yeah, for sure. Can I give you a quick message of hope, though?
Yeah, do it. Give me some hope, man.
My line is, you can heal no matter what your story may be. I think as challenging as this may be to hear, I think we're all given what we need in order to shift our consciousness. And a lot of the times that's very, very, very painful. I think a prerequisite to being a human being and evolving on this spiritual journey is pain, and what causes us, or what calls our attention more than when we're uncomfortable. But in those moments is opportunities to learn. And when you can begin to turn towards your suffering instead of pushing it away, this is when the real change begins to happen. You become the alchemist of your life, and that's possible, but you can't do it if you keep turning away from the pain, right? They say the light enters through the cracks. So if you have a broken mind, broken heart, broken body, lean in, embrace it, get support, because you can heal. People can find out about my work on my website that's about to get a whole new revamp at Mike Govoni, MikeGovoni.com. My Instagram is Mike Govoni. I have a Healing Beyond Recovery podcast, or the Healing Beyond Recovery podcast. And I'm very not so active on Facebook, but Mike Govoni there as well.
Amazing. Well, as always, I put the links in the show notes. I want to thank you for that message of hope, because it's so true. If we're resisting, resistance generally is going to lead to a sense of suffering. And like you said, turning inwards and being able to hold the pain that comes up. Once you get there and you can hold it, which is where I'm at, it's very powerful. I know that I'll never have long periods of depression, anxiety, because I can hold it now and let it be there, but know it will move on, because nothing is permanent. So it's just knowing, isn't it?
Absolutely. You've elevated to no longer identify as the anxiety depression, but there's a consciousness that can now hold what's here. And when you change the way you be with things, the things you be with change. So how can you listen to your anxiety, your depression, your aches, your pains in a way where you birth a different consciousness? Not that we push it away or bypass it, but we're here being with it, and notice that it has its life too. As you said, everything is impermanent. Everything's in flux. Everything's changing. So don't hold on to any of it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I can't believe how much wisdom we managed to cram in a 20-minute period. It's been absolutely beautiful. I just want to thank you so much for your support with the podcast, being on the original episode, and for today. I do really appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, Owen. You're a great podcast host, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Amazing. Thanks, Mike. And thank everybody for listening and watching, if you're watching over on YouTube and Instagram. And thank you so much for all your support. We'll head over now and check out the intro and the outro. But thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to do some more catch-up episodes too. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.